like 2013, 2014, Vogue released an article on Highland Park about all the pretty new little shops and restaurants. And it featured no local restaurants, no brown people. And to me, that was complete erasure, as if we never existed. And that's what I want to avoid. I want to document, or I have been documenting, what our communities are right now, who are our people right now, the atrocities happening right now, because I don't want to be erased as if we were never here. And that happens all of the time. And I think that there are so many creative people out there that would be able to showcase this kind of stuff in a great way. But I want to like be, you know, grounded in, if you're not a local and you're an artist and you want to cover something like this,
becomes exploitative.
1000%. Sensationalism. And I hate
it's like that. NPR, where they show you the tragedies that are happening around the world, but they don't show you that we're the ones who started them.
No. And they also don't contribute to like aiding that or whatever. And
welcome to What's My Thesis. I'm Javier Proenza, and today my guest is Fernanda Sanchez. We're doing something a little bit different today. I mean, I don't want to say that you're not an artist. Are you an artist?
I mean, yeah. Aren't we all?
But the point of interest to have you here is that you're my neighborhood council person.
Yeah.
And you don't get paid.
No, I think that's what gives me integrity and allows me to talk my shit. So.
Yeah. Well, first things first. I have a bone to pick with everybody in my industry.
I want to hear it.
No, well, okay. So we'll get into a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm trying to like just pare down to what really is relevant right now. But I'm in an industry that only until like 2000 or only until 2020 did people start being like, oh, you know what? We should like put Latinos in galleries and stuff. And like all of a sudden, Los Angeles aesthetics have bled into these white cube spaces that used to be so prestigious. And now, and I have friends that are really down for the cause, like especially mostly Latinos, because we have ties to outside. What's your background?
I'm Mexican.
You're Mexican. Okay. And then, but like this industry itself is really run by all these women that freaked out this past election. And a bunch of them were talking about how they wanted to get involved in local politics. And I'm like, you don't want to do that. I know someone that does it. It's a thankless job. And then the other thought that I have is like people are just like, I mean, I'm like, some of the people saying this are people that would just become NIMBYs in their own. So I figured it's
interesting.
It would be great to have somebody who actually knows what the F we're talking about and kind of break down how to actually get involved in the thankless task. I have a few things that I wanted to ask you about because, well, let's start with you. Where are you from?
Well, I'm born and raised in Los Angeles.
Okay.
My parents met in Lincoln Heights.
Okay.
So, I mean, the roots are deep here.
Yeah. And this is one of the oldest neighborhoods, right?
It's the first neighborhood of Los Angeles. Yeah, that's why we have all these old colonial homes.
Yeah.
That all the East Coast people moving in love.
Yeah.
And I connected those dots when I was in the East Coast for my birthday. I did Rhode Island, Boston, New Jersey, New York. And a lot of the houses looked exactly the same as the ones out here. And I was like, this makes sense.
Yeah. You also, we're going to take a side trek because you went to my motherland, which is Rome.
Okay. I'd love to talk about that. Yeah.
So, but let's, that'll come up. We've got more than an hour. We've got an hour and more if we need it.
Cool.
Okay. So then look, I understand that you did something that I thought was really cool, and I kind of guess that's the good starting place. Now you are a person who's active politically in the community. Like no one can take that away from you. I doubt I know of anybody that works harder. I see you do it all the time. Now I also pull down signs that said, "Would you like to sell your home?"
Rad.
I'm just like, and there's one, dude. We should do one. There's one that I can't reach.
I'm down.
We'll take a ladder and pull it down. Yeah. But no, you work a lot. You've been on the show before. You were like on maybe 4 years ago or something.
4 years ago.
Was that around the time? Yeah, right. That was when I was doing Zoom. But so for me, I feel like there is is laissez-faire. That means like kind of like passive. Yeah. Everybody's hands really off. Passive, but very passionate about politics every 4 years.
Yeah.
You posted something that I have also been championing, and this may make people turn off of this episode. But
what is it? I post a lot, so
I know,
I'm a little afraid. What are you about to say?
No, it's one. You're fine. It's one thing that I shared. And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" You were saying that you said something about what was the logical fallacy of a vote for third party is not a vote for Trump.
Oh, vote for third party is a vote for Trump, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the claim, but then you were making the case against it.
Yeah, no. A vote for Trump is a vote for Trump.
Exactly. But what was that logical fallacy? Do you remember what it was?
I don't.
Oh, God damn it. It was so perfect. Fuck. I wish I hadn't forgot it. Yeah. But basically, I thought that was very interesting. And I thought it was very telling of somebody who works with the community. What I imagine is that a lot of like that like in this community, there's probably people that would be considered persona non gratas based on their politics. And a lot of that will probably have to do with their opinions on abortion and stuff like that. And historically, you always hear like there's two things. There's the demographics is destiny that the Democrats were saying for a very long time, which I always found ridiculous. And it's like just this claim that they have on Latinos that don't agree with them politically. And then after the election, the disgust they had with Latinos. I'm like, bro, why don't you go after all the white women?
I saw that. Yeah. And I saw that from a lot of white liberal allies as well.
Yeah. Well, allies we can get into what I think about allies.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to ask you about that because as somebody who serves the community, you only serve Democrats, right? You tell everybody that is a Republican to go fuck themselves. They're horrible people. We don't want them. Wow. Right? Yeah. That's how things work in the world, right? Yeah, you can sense the sarcasm, right?
Yeah. You know what? I've accepted that pretty much everything that comes out of my mouth has gotten me into trouble. But
I definitely don't want to put you on the spot.
No. It has also led me to meet some really awesome people. And I think the reason why the neighborhood council and my position has riled so many feathers and has also gotten so much attention is because we're so radical. We're not, I personally, I don't cater to Democrats nor Republicans. I think it's all a shit show.
Yeah.
And I think people are starting to see that. People are fed up with it. And I understand people wanting to get involved for the first time ever, which is a really tricky situation to be in.
For you as people are trying to get involved, is
both?
Is there like a January 1st kind of after election thing where people are trying to get involved?
There should be, and there is. I have so many thoughts revolving around this. I do worry for people that are not at all politically involved suddenly becoming politically involved because it's kind of like jumping to the deep end.
Yeah.
There are political orgs and there are people that have been involved politically for a very long time and they profit off of this. So when they see a green new baby wanting to join their political forces, they are kind of sucked into an agenda without even realizing it. And for all of us that have gotten involved politically, it's happened, at some point.
That Eunice we'll talk about that later. I want to finish your thought, but that's definitely something I wanted to ask you about because that's also AOC. Yeah. That's how they do it. Go ahead. Yeah. We'll expand. Yeah. We got time.
It's a beast. It's a beast. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's gonna feel good at first. I'm doing something. These people are praising me for doing this. And what I've seen is a lot of people get sucked into that. And dare I say, drink the Kool-Aid. And they love the idea of moving up this ladder in a political career. And very few people will get involved just for service space. Yeah. And I'm not going to say that's why I got involved. To be honest with you, I got involved just based out of desperation. That reads. The pandemic sucked. Yeah. It honestly did. And here in Lincoln Heights, it was awful. And I didn't do anything for years. And I think during the pandemic is when I felt like, stop complaining. Stop crying. Like, I saw a post to Canvas and I was like, let me show up. And the irony of it is, it was a post to Canvas like against gentrification. And I show up and it's all white people. I know. And I'm like, gentrifiers fighting gentrification. Yeah. That was my first ever exposure to any of this.
And so was it just run of the mill, like people that were white, or were they, because I know that there's like, there are concerted efforts in this neighborhood. There is the winery, San Antonio Winery. Were they more tied to that level of developer, like when you say gentrifiers, or just by nature of being Caucasian, like lighter skin in a neighborhood that's predominantly, that are historically been brown? Which is it? Or is it both?
That's a great question. I think one of the important things to note is that gentrification looks different in every community, every city, every state, every country. Yeah. Completely different. And so when I talk about gentrification, I mainly focus on just Northeast LA. And here we're seeing a combination of like the old school gentrification of like more affluent hipster artists coming in, and we're now being combined with like an accelerated form of corporate gentrification. It's chaos out here. It's a literal war zone. When it comes to the corporate gentrifiers, they tend to be more involved through the nonprofits rather than like grassroots style. Yeah. For that specific canvassing effort, it was more of not at all like corporate.
It was more people. Like NIMBYs.
Yeah, like or saviorism or guilt. Saviorism. I don't know. It's not my whatever. But what I learned through all of that is, I mean, you know, more affluent people or artists, whatever it may be, they do have the luxury to have time. Yeah. To volunteer. And they really, I can
attest to that.
They really love being in politics. Like, they love knowing politicians. They love having a hand in policy, while the rest of us have no idea what's going on. We're struggling to survive. And when we do get involved in these spaces, we're tokenized, or we're belittled, or we're not taken seriously. And I think that that's where I'm at, is where I've always been at is about taking over platforms, taking up space. Yeah. I am personally not beholden to anybody or any org, which is why I'm not very, you know, liked or attributed to. But I've always been like that. Yeah, like I can't, you know.
But that's why you're here, and that's why we're homies, and that's why I believe in you, and I think that that's why. I mean, you guys flipped. Going back in history, we again, if you guys want to go, there's 2 episodes about gentrification, and one with you and the whole of the Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council, but you guys really flipped it really quickly, and I think it became a problem. So during that time, there was a very popular, I don't know what your affiliations are. These are, I'm going to be delicate because you never know who's still friends. It's politics, right? Yeah, and you never know who has been co-opted and who hasn't, and all of that. Yeah. So, but at that moment, there was a strong showing of support from this community that really wanted to focus on like members of this community. And we talk about artists and that is a very interesting thing and delicate topic. Like this is one of the few episodes where I mention what neighborhood I'm in, because I always think of myself as a guest, and I'm only gonna bring problems if I'm like, yeah, I'm Lincoln Heights, you know. So
awareness. But, I love that.
but I mean, but I'm humbled by you, you know, like you are, and this is why, you know, the least I can do is have the person that's fighting to keep this place from being gentrified on the show and have that perspective seen, because I think people are just really ignorant. And they hear these things, like that was the thing. It was like, and we're going to get involved in mutual aid. We're going to get, and like, no, you didn't. All you did was bitch about Trump being elected and how horrible the world is now. And then there was like, and I mean this with love and respect, but this sense of like, oh, all the whole world, all of America hates women. And I'm like, is that really what happened? Or is that what you've decided happened? Right? Have you seen the maps of California? Like in 2020 and how red it was in like, it's fucking crazy. It's like you can see it with colors by district by district. It's, you know,
it's this election. I was not surprised by the results. To me, it was very annoying and frustrating when people reacted in such a shocked manner. To me, I was like, where have you been these past 4 years? This isn't a shock to anybody.
How are you surprised that people don't want a continuation?
Not only that, but how are people not to have we not witnessed the tension that keeps, you know, rising in this country, in our communities? There's, how do I say this? I think it's very complex, layered, and I think one of them does have to do with social media, and I love social media, but it's a love and hate relationship, and I think because we're put into these echo chambers in social media, I think that isolated a lot of people in believing that they were going to win, and I guess that, you know, explains why they were so shocked with the election. But I mean, from my perspective, I've seen a lot of oppression continue to accumulate, criminalization of poor people, of unhoused people, and brown people, immigrant people. And to me, it was not at all a shock that this happened.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because that's where I'm stuck. I'm stuck in an echo chamber that's not mine as an artist. Who is in this world that is full of people that are very proud of being academics and being educated. I love that. Just like the condescension. It's like, oh, these uneducated people. I'm like, what is your education worth? Like, what, you're going to school for art. Does that mean that you understand politics better? No. You're going to school for humanities. Does that mean you have a broader understanding of life experience? Fuck no. So it's just such a, it is the distasteful thing, which is why people, why people push back against it. And then the other thing that is fascinating to me is, you know, like I kind of alluded to it, but I won't put it on you, so you don't have to publicly say that that you don't cater to Republicans or Democrats. But, you know, a perfect example, Staten Island, Chris Smalls. I'm sure you know who he is. He is the guy that started the Amazon union. He got fired, and he was trying to take care of people during COVID, make sure people weren't getting sick. I literally watched that man cry on a YouTube during an interview because he was so broken by it, and now he is one of the most impressive gangster ass people that exists. And what I love is that he doesn't put on suits. He's just him. He just rocks his style, like, you know. But one of the things that people always say about that situation is that he didn't start that union by going, oh, you support Trump, get the fuck out of here. And that's what I think happens in this community. You can't abandon people because of their politics. Whereas like for the last however long, you know, I was a quote unquote Bernie bro, and then I fucking felt abandoned by him, and now I hate him too. But I think that since Clinton, there has been a concerted effort to just be like, well, we don't fucking need you. And that's not how you run a campaign. That is not how you bring people in. And after the election, and you can push back if you think I'm wrong, but there's nobody that has more authority to do that. But after the election, I just saw people go deeper and deeper into that. Like, oh, it's okay to cut off your family. I'm like, you're never going to win if that is your approach. If your approach is to dehumanize people and fucking, you know. Anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
First, I'm not afraid to say that I don't serve Democrats or Republicans.
No. I want to be delicate because you got to go work with people.
Yeah. And you know what? Navigating that has been challenging for sure. But if anything, it grounds me more to realize, you know what? These people are all clowns and they're all fake.
Yeah.
Which I hope people see when they get involved. That's the learning experience I want people to get from being involved.
Yeah.
If you're looking to get involved for self-gratification, it's not going to happen.
No.
Very rarely. But I like what you said about not isolating people with different points of views. I think there are boundaries, and I think those boundaries may be different for everybody.
Like genocide?
Yeah. No, for me, that's a hard line.
Yeah.
A hard line.
Not, surprisingly, not for a lot of people.
Is it surprising? I don't know. I have to really think about that.
No, you're fair. You got it.
But I have had thoughts and I have had conversations where I criticize these liberal politicians because they only involve themselves with white liberals. And the truth of our communities are, especially for like the Latinx, Chicano community, whatever label that you want to use, we're not a monolith. Mm-hmm. And I quickly learned that when I got into this position of leadership, which was a very hard thing to grapple with, because you have all of these elders that have fought against gentrification in the past. But then they say something that's so out of pocket.
Like what? Give me some juice.
Something like normal to like the boomer and above generation,
okay.
Like something like, I don't know, homophobic or racist. And I'm just like, and I think that because of that, so many of these liberal politicians refuse to work with people from the community. And I was in a position where I saw how that affected people. I saw how people started to feel like we're not being heard, we're being ousted. And so I started to think, are you really radical if you are only working with white liberals? You're not. And it's been the hardest thing trying to work with people that don't agree with me. But there's been so much transformation and change. And I don't think that's the outcome in every relationship or every situation. I don't. Mm-hmm. There are some people that are just so indoctrinated in like their awful values that they'll never get out of that. Mm. But I think that a part of me too was I wanted to understand why they thought that way. And yeah, I think there are boundaries.
Yeah.
And I think that it's not possible to be radical if you are only with white liberals or radical people. Like if you want to be a radical person, you need to radicalize people.
Yeah.
And that includes people that are not there yet. And that's a lot of people. That's majority, everybody. You know, that's what I think.
No, and I think that we definitely have that in common, and that's one of the things that I always I always respect. Okay, I guess we just kind of have been going without a structure for a while, but what are the first steps? Like, let's say, I'm so angry about this election. What do I do?
Yeah.
What do I do to become involved?
See, I get that question all of the time.
Uh-huh. And you're like, please don't.
Visit my Instagram page.
Oh no, it is a great resource. Fernie Ferns. Is there any underscores or?
It's Fernie.Ferns.
Fernie.Ferns.
But look, I think a lot of people think that involvement means protesting or volunteering. And those are big time consumers, energy consumers, and that I think turns off a lot of people or intimidates folks into thinking, I don't have time for that. I can't do that. And really what I've learned throughout these years is that involvement looks very different. If you have a skill, if you are an artist, if you are a video editor, you can volunteer your time to do that kind of stuff. When it comes to the movement and my movement is like the liberation of brown indigenous people. And with that comes all of these layers of gentrification and yada yada yada. But and I talked about this in a different podcast. Like the folks in Chinatown,
you see other podcasters? What if I got jealous?
I mean,
no, I saw that you did that. I was very excited.
I'm a free woman. You know,
I own the neighborhood council of LA, of Lincoln Heights.
And seeing how they frame like volunteering was really cool.
Okay.
And that's, I think, what I'm trying to like instill in people. Like, for example, you offering this platform is a way of contributing.
No.
Because
let me pat myself on the back.
You know,
but I'm doing it more out of spite, though.
Yeah. And you know,
like, this is not benevolence. This is like, fuck you for being wrong about politics on my list. Yeah.
I think right now everyone's mad.
Yeah.
And you have to channel that anger. And I think people need to see other people angry.
Yeah.
That has to happen.
That has definitely been, like doing what I do and being able to say things and then realizing how many people have jobs that they can't say things, really liking my post, like my stories incognito.
It's like, it's
like, oh, this is like a release valve for people, you know? So,
it really is.
Yeah.
And I know you're like in the artist world, and that's like a huge platform of resources that activists or advocates, whatever label you want to use, really need.
Mm-hmm.
I think that where I'm pivoting to right now is politics is its own gnarly game. And I think there are certain walls you hit when it comes to activating people. And so for me, it's like pivoting into the art world.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is one of the most powerful tools to get people activated. And the first thing is reaching out to people.
Yeah.
I've gotten pretty far in some awesome projects by just DMing someone because their Instagram was like in line with my values. They had a skill that I didn't have, and I hit them up and be like, hey, do you want to collaborate on something? And people do. And if they don't, they don't, but you will find somebody. And I think that for people that are privileged, that have resources, that have connections, I think that's where you come in.
Yeah.
You're not here to make decisions for us.
No.
You know, you're here.
Facilitate.
Exactly. You're here to just give the resources onto us.
Can you imagine if I brought you on this podcast and I was like, you know, I think you should do this and this and this when you're the one on the fucking ground sweating and I see you?
Oh, you'd be surprised. I get that a lot.
I bet you do.
You know, there's so much entitlement and elitism in not only politics, but just in the world that we live in general. And it's not something I wanted to accept for a long time. It's hard. You don't want to accept that you're perceived to be at the bottom. No one wants to accept that. And I think
that's also what's so crazy about the way white WASP liberals look at Latinos, the way that they talk about us. It's so, and look, I come from Miami. I'm a Cuban. We run that fucking city. Ain't nobody gonna tell us what the fuck to do. So I come over here and it blows my mind. And they think they're being kind and they think that they're being thoughtful, but it's like just racism with a different, you know, it's like the flip side of that shit. It's like, pobre infeliz, you know, and like you said, nobody thinks of themselves like that. No, like, why would you?
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry.
No,
I got excited.
No, please. You know, I think that part of that sort of internal identity struggle is one of the reasons why we do have a lot of conservative Latinos.
Yeah.
They want to see themselves as we're not like them. And that's like that everyone needs therapy. I always say that.
100%.
It all comes down to trauma, always. And so a part of the movement is healing people. Yeah. So we need healers. We need people that know how to do this stuff. And
what kind of services could you specifically use from artists? Like if anybody's listening that has a skill set, what skills do you need to help? Because and then like before we get into that, your fight is very much focused on protecting this city, this part of the city from predators. From financial predators. There is the Avenue 34 and Pasadena, right? That has been a ongoing saga. You guys have been fighting it for a long time. It used to be a dry cleaners. It was like an industrial level to see how much I learned from you. I like this is you were fucking amazing.
No, I appreciate
So it's a site, and they're trying to build luxury condos. It's gonna gentrify the neighborhood and get the people who move in to those spaces sick. It's close to a school, right? God damn it!
Right across the street.
It's right across the street from a school, and these developers keep pushing. There's been let's call it chicanery regarding testing. They haven't tested legitimately. They've tested certain specific places and not others. And like, this is like, I've known you for 4 years now, and you've been fighting this, and the fight is not done. And there was a period where they cut down all these trees illegally and shit like that. Like, this is the minutia that people who are saying that they want to get involved in local politics do not understand, that you are constantly fighting fights that you will likely lose. And it's just how much can you mitigate the damage, right? You're constantly in council meetings. I always watch videos of you at council meetings talking mad shit, and I love it, you know? So I just want people to understand, like, if you have services and you want to help, you know, especially like people that are originally from this neighborhood, which I have some friends, like what are your needs?
That is a great question. I think I need to like take a step back.
Yeah, go for it.
And like focus on Avenue 34 for a quick second.
For sure. Yeah.
Because it comes down to the involvement. And those luxury units are nearly built. Yeah. And when that was happening, people always told us, well, they can't do that. They need to test the ground. Okay, but if no one's making them, they're not going to test the soil. And it's always like people think that they are superior when they use logic. Oh, well, you know, they can't develop if the soil is tested. And they think that because there are these rules in place that the city and developers will follow it. And that's just not the case. And so this 4-year-long fight has aged me like 10 years.
Like Obama pre and post.
I scrolled through my camera roll the other day and I was looking at pictures of like 4 years ago, and I was like, oh my God, I was so alive and full of joy.
I literally posted a thing about how much I posted a thing about how back in the day I used to sweat so much setting up and then someone was like, you can smell this guy through the camera, and I was like, oh my God, this is like not what I want, you know? But yeah,
it's a wake-up call that, you know.
No, it's so funny. It's so funny. But anyway, sorry, I forgot why I brought that up, because I was trying to recall
aging 4 years ago.
But I was still like, damn, I looked better. Just like my beard is not gray.
I don't mind the white hairs actually, but
you're like doing good. Are you dying?
I've actually never dyed my hair,
dude. You look still, you don't look like you've aged that much.
Oh, the bags under my eyes, the pores. Anyway, so I forgot where I was going with this, but
we're talking about Avenue 34 and people following rules, and then you you remembered that you aged, and then it hit you.
And you said something like, you're most likely going to lose this fight. And that is something that I grappled with from the very beginning, and I didn't know how to process that or how to maneuver that. And I think that pessimism, or that becomes pessimism for a lot of people. I've been confronted by so many people that are afraid of gentrification, but they'll say, we're not going to win, so what's the point? What's the point of trying? What's the point of fighting? We're not going to win. And that's when Avenue 34 comes in as an example. All the information you just spilled is because of documentation. And
old ass documents too. Like, you guys are going deep. That's the other part.
The archives.
Archives. You guys bust out shit, and I'm like, what?
That was crazy research. But what I meant by documentation is documenting what we're doing. And I think that's where I am like learning how to like showcase, how do we document in a way where people grasp it and want to do something about it? I've been doing it through the neighborhood council, and that's been a great avenue, but we just did a really cool photo shoot, and that got more views and attention than a lot of the stuff that I've been doing, which has been way more difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you need both avenues, and that's where artists come in.
Mm.
Sign making, photo shoot making, any sort of like creative way to showcase this is happening in this community. And I've been saying this from the very beginning, like my biggest fear, and I've used Highland Park as an example for a really long time. I wrote my thesis on that.
You brought me a thesis.
Awesome. I in 2013, 2014, Vogue released an article on Highland Park about all the pretty new little shops and restaurants. And it featured no local restaurants, no brown people. And to me, that was complete erasure, as if we never existed. And that's what I want to avoid. I want to document, or I have been documenting, what our communities are right now, who are our people right now, the atrocities happening right now, because I don't want to be erased as if we were never here. And that happens all of the time. And I think that there are so many creative people out there that would be able to showcase this kind of stuff in a great way. But I want to like be, grounded in, if you're not a local and you're an artist and you want to cover something like this,
becomes exploitative.
1000%. Yeah. Sensationalism, and I hate
it's like that. NPR, where they show you the tragedies that are happening around the world, but they don't show you that we're the ones who started them.
No, and they also don't contribute to like aiding that or whatever. And so if you're an artist, like reach out to locals that are doing the work and be like, do you have any ideas that I can help with? And remember that for us, for me, this is my livelihood. This is my life. Like I've seen so many of my neighbors just disappear and leave.
Well, I remember when you guys were fighting the RV bans, because people were getting priced out of their houses. They wanted to stay near their families, so they were living in RVs down the street, like on the street, and then they just didn't want that anymore here.
And how fucked up is that? Like, I saw like kids living in RVs with their families, and they're criminals now, and we need to I don't know, like the fact that this state allows for the criminalization of homeless children is disgusting to me.
But it's Democrat. It's supermajority Democrat.
And that is what people need to pay attention to.
But all we need is a supermajority Democrat presidential campaign, presidential year, and everything will be fixed, and there will be no homelessness and all of this stuff.
And it's not so much that it's the Democrats, because it's also the Republicans. It's this whole charades that they're playing. And
I'm just saying they're not the solution that they present themselves to be. They're just party to that shit.
Have been.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to get involved. If you're getting involved for gratification, or you want to move the ladder, or you want to like appease whatever party, like we're not going to get anywhere. This vicious cycle is going to continue. And I mean, the fact of the matter is, whether people have accepted it or not, is we are not the top 1%.
No, we're the fucking trampolables. I mean, me less than you for sure, because of my background, I had a fancy background. We'll talk about Rome towards the end of the episode. I do want to go back real quick and say something that I noticed about why, going back to the idea of fighting a fight that you're going to ultimately lose. It really is a matter of where you stop. Where you consider the fight over, right? Like, let's say that the place got built, but you guys have been fighting before the place got built. Now people start getting cancer. Where are they going to get that information to sue the company that built that place? 100%. You guys, right? So the fight is not necessarily one that you're going to lose entirely. You can, and then also, like, what better thing to do than get in, like, make life miserable for pieces of shit have no conscience, right?
100%.
Like
Cost the money.
The response to the response to what you were saying, or what people say to you, is like, well, it's going to be gentrified anyway. Why not? Well, why make it easy for them? You know, why not make them suffer? Why not give them the bad press that they deserve?
Yeah.
Why not expose them? And why not let everybody else? You know, I don't go to the Heights Deli and Bottle Shop. I don't go at all. Now, every now and then, my friend will be in the neighborhood. They want to go there. I'm not going to be like, no. But as a policy, you know, it's that's also San Antonio winery people.
No, I believe
they're their own institution. So it's San Antonio and then the Deli Heights, because they own the Texas thing. No,
I think San Antonio, and I might be wrong. But like that, a person that represents them did approach the neighborhood council at some point, and they revealed all of the estate that they own in Lincoln Heights. And I think they mentioned the Heights, like they own like the land. But San Antonio Winery owns a lot of Lincoln Heights, and that's a very and so does USC.
Yes, that's the other threat to this neighborhood. USC just wants this neighborhood for themselves because Keck Medical Center is nearby. They claimed Lincoln Park essentially because they have housing across the street. Is that what that is? And so now, you know, things that I've seen from following your work and your peers is that park is no longer for the community at all. That you can't play baseball on the diamonds.
The Dodgers dream field. They claimed it. Yeah, the Dodgers claimed the park, and it's gated, and
you can't play there.
And what's interesting is if you go to Alhambra Park, by the Target, that playground is also like Dodger branded and claimed. But it's not gated. Yeah. And ours is.
It's fucked up. It's crazy.
You know?
But even just in the process of becoming aware of what's happening in this neighborhood, I can participate here a lot better, right? I don't have to go to the places that are hurting the neighborhood and shop there. You know? I don't have to participate in that. So that is another way of getting involved, right?
Yeah.
Through your commerce,
boycotting
through commerce, through your participation. And I don't think that and like a losing battle, I don't think I'm going to shut down the Heights Bottle Shop, you know, but I'm still not participating in my own downfall, you know.
Yeah. It's like gentrification evolves always. Like right now we have all the businesses that displaced us crying gentrification because now they're getting displaced by corporate businesses. Yeah. And so it continues to evolve. And what does that fight look like is what's being navigated right now. And I mean, I have thoughts about that.
We can share them.
But like when my friends come or out of state or whatever, and they want to try like gentrifying businesses, I tell them no. Yeah. I'm like, no, we're gonna go here instead, and this place is way better. And I think like the corporate entities creeping in is an outcome of like the first wave of gentrification, and we're in a very like peculiar situation because we do have San Antonio Winery, we have the Dodgers, we have USC. These are all mega corporations that have a history of displacing communities and people. Yeah,
there's that Displacers logo for the Dodgers.
Yeah, and they're doing great work. You know, they're talking about the 3 communities that were displaced, Palo Verde, La Loma, and Bishop. And what does reparations look like? And, you know, I do encourage people to look into that history and follow Buried Under the Blue for that, because they're doing important work, and it's a lot of work that if it weren't for us doing this, nobody would know about.
No, yeah, 100%. Education is one of the biggest tools in this whole situation, 100%. Right?
Yeah, and like my elders, my mentors, they always tell me like, we're not gonna see like liberation in our lifetime, like we're not. But you're here to like just get a step closer, and like that's what your efforts do. But real quick, like we have had some wins, and those those feel really great.
For sure. Go, vamos.
Like the Boyle Heights Tao project.
What is that?
Do you on Cesar Chavez? Do you know where La Monarca is?
Kind of.
Do you know where El Apetito is? Like this really historic restaurant. I haven't spent a lot
of time in Boyle Heights, but...
Do you know where Guisados is?
Yes.
It's like across the street. And like adjacent, there's like businesses and like 3 apartments above. They wanted to demolish all of that and convert it to like 54 luxury units with like 3 affordable units. And I use quotes because it's not affordable for us. And
it's affordable for the artists that they want to move in, so that it brings up
anyone making $70K. So, you know, the community didn't know what to do, and it was a lot of people that have experience in fighting gentrification like came forward like, hey, let me help you. And for me, I've done appeals. I was like, let's do an appeal. And this is where everyone's experience and perspective comes in. Some people were like, you're not going to win. No. You might as well just negotiate with the developer and scale it down. And some people were like, you're going to need an attorney. You're not going to win without an attorney. And then I was like, who the fuck cares? Let's file an appeal. Let's see what happens. And so one of the reasons why I think that was so successful is because there were artists involved, local artists involved in that appeal and that fight. And there was a lot of like political demonstration at the appeal hearings. The neighborhood councils came forward. My neighborhood council wrote a letter, and we presented it at all of the appeal hearings. And then the commissioner cited our appeal, and they voted to strike down the project.
Oh, wow.
And that's like unheard of. That never happened. And it was a huge celebration.
Is there a lot of collaboration between neighborhood councils that are legit, like you guys? Do you guys do you fuck a lot with Boyle Heights and that? We do. How do I say this? The neighborhood council structure needs to be taken over, and that requires like guidance. And so, like we're working on like getting neighborhood councils up and running. I mean, most neighborhood councils don't even function. And the ones that do, like, they're a mess. Yeah. I bet it.
They don't do anything political. Nothing. They're just like funding parades or whatever. And not that there is anything wrong with that, but for me, I mean, if I'm going to be a part of a platform, I'm going to have to do something with that, which is what we have been doing, and the city hates us for it. But
that's good.
Yeah, it is.
Judge yourself by your enemies.
Badge of honor, for sure.
I forget whose quote that is, but all right, I do want to talk to you about what happened with Eunices. Is that how you say her name? Eunices. I mean, I don't need to put that much respect because apparently she sucks. But before we get into that, though, how are we feeling about Carlos Mejia?
Mejia.
Maybe it's not Carlos, but Mejia. There's a guy that I see people.
The controller, Kenneth Mejia.
Kenneth Mejia.
You know,
has he legit as we thought when he first came out, or?
I think he's probably the most radical person on the city council. He's publishing data that has been so helpful for me. I mean, he revealed that our district, our community here, had the highest eviction rates.
Wow.
That's not a coincidence. And so I argued that so many times at City Hall. And so that data is important. And he's also like auditing the city, and the mayor is now suing him or something like that.
Awesome. All right. No,
that's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
You know, that to me is what.
But before it was good. I'm glad that we highlighted someone that was awesome before we got into the exploitative side, because it does sound a lot like AOC. The way that she used a lot of independent media. She used a lot of YouTubers that were lefty YouTubers, kind of Bernie bro type. I mean, just to label them, I don't like that label, but kind of like that, the Bernie left kind of, and the fallout of that, whether or not people were cool with him. I guess at the time people still liked him because that's when she got elected. But she was running on being a one-term wait, she's not a senator, is she? She's a congressperson. Yeah, congresswoman. So to me, that's interesting because there are chameleons that can kind of come in and then use your clout as somebody even I'm kind of doing that now because I'm probably not going to do much in the neighborhood council after this. It really is just to spite, just to spite my peers. No, I'm happy to help. Just let me know what you need. But that whole thing of like, there are people that come in and speak the language, and then afterwards they just sell you out entirely, and you get them to a certain place, and they're like, peace out. Like, how do you feel about that? What have you learned from that process? How can you prevent that? I'm sure you've got some ideas now.
That is the reason why I want people to get involved.
Okay.
I think that it's bigger than AOC or Ionesis. You always have to look at the people and orgs that are running them. Who is controlling the campaign? Because when they get in office, it's them that control the policy.
Yeah.
Ionesis or whatever politician they're using, they're not like some mastermind that can write policy and make all these decisions. They have a team. And this team doesn't come out of thin air or even merit. It comes out of who campaigned for me, who funded me, who did I sign a co-governance agreement with. And that's what you have to look at. What are the orgs, the political orgs endorsing these politicians? And who else have they endorsed, and what is their track record? That's what I want people to start looking at. Because when you see the people that did this for Ionesis, that endorsed her, that run her, it's basically setting up the same thing for the next politician. And what I've noticed too is that they do get people that don't have experience in politics. It's easier to, paint a canvas when it's blank. And for me, it was really disappointing. I remember when I saw her campaign video, she talked about gentrification. And this was like in 2020. And that was the first time I ever saw a politician talk about gentrification. And I was like in the weeds. Like my neighbors were being displaced left and right. And so that like spoke volumes to me, and I went in hard for her.
Yeah.
And that's the last time I will ever
support a politician.
Campaign for a politician. And the shitty part is
Bernie was the one that did it for me.
That was like, I wasn't super involved, but I was also like, yeah, Bernie.
Yeah. I mean, I don't believe a fucking word they say anymore. It's like cops.
It's a career for them.
But it's like cops. It's like, yeah, maybe there's good ones, but they get pushed out by the bad ones, because they don't have the morality. I don't want to make, I know you've got to deal with the police, so I don't want to put that on you, but
it's the system.
It's a systemic thing
that you're a part of.
And you can be as good as you want, but if your system is corrupt,
100%.
I'm sure there are good cops, even though it hurts me to say that.
I'm just gonna jump right to the other topic.
No worries. I don't want to get you. You stir up enough shit. I don't need to stir any for you.
No, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you in the sense that like the system will never allow a good politician
or good person,
a good cop, a good anything.
Yeah.
And it always comes down to abolition or reform. Do we want to abolish the system? Do we want to reform the system? And everyone falls in those two categories. And I love, learning and hearing like, what is the right way to address this? And I think those are the conversations we should be having.
Yeah.
And then actually, how do we do it? And then let's do it. But I think that these conversations are hijacked by political orgs, by nonprofits, who are running politicians. And that's why we fall in the same fucking cycle over and over again of like, we're being inspired and then, oh, we're being betrayed. And I think people are just waiting for somebody else to do the work
Oh, that's what the election cycle, the 4-year election cycle is.
And that's why it's like this.
I think it was like you who said like everybody's just a hobbyist when it comes to politics, but they're so fucking passionate. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. Like it's crazy. It really does feel like I mean, I'm still processing who my friends are and who my peers are just based on like, it's like, it is crazy, you know? Like, I think I think I'm still processing the fact that for so many people, Israel was not a red line for them. And it's nasty. And what was crazy to me was this like people were like saying crazy shit like, well, I think that the people that Kamala is going to be better on it than Trump. And I'm just like the whole time, it's been going on for a year. There's nobody left to kill. So you want to vote in this person who's part of the administration that killed all these people, and now they're going to get credit for it not being so bad. Fuck you. Yeah. Fuck you. Yeah. Sorry, that was so aggressive.
No, it needs to be that aggressive.
Yeah.
This is the most documented genocide in a platform that is so accessible. Everyone has social media.
Yeah.
Everyone has seen these videos. And if that's not a line for you, I don't know. I don't fucking know what to say.
Yeah.
Which is why that's a hard line for me.
Yeah.
I don't work with that mentality, and I don't work with those people, and I'm not ashamed to say that.
Yeah. No, and it was gross how some people were co-opting that suffering to validate their political opinions.
Very
and
gross.
their like, it was just like, you do not even have the self-awareness to see what you're saying and what it's communicating about your value system. It's terrifying.
It's propaganda.
Yeah, it's propaganda. And the other thing that was interesting is that I've had, like, you know, I don't get into arguments with people. Like, if they post something that I don't like, if they post a story, I just ignore it. I don't say anything. But people will hop into my stories and kind of confront me on stuff. And I literally had people saying to me, it was like, you better get ready to form communities and form mutual aid systems and all of this stuff. And, you know, because the whole system is going to go to shit when this guy gets elected, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You're going to need to know how to fight. You better get your guns and all of this shit. And I'm like, there's two things there. First of all, my response to her was like, we Latinos already know this life. Like, our whole fucking world is countries. We all come from countries that are constantly being fucked with to a degree that people have to flee them and come over here and get treated like shit. And it's still a better option for them. And then the other thing is, like, you don't hate the patriarchy that much because what's keeping all this order? You know, this order that you really like of the police keeping order of, you know, it benefits you, white liberal lady. But, you know, I keep saying this. I recently got assaulted by a Latino right on my own fucking block. And I didn't call the cops because I was like, I don't know, it's going to make the situation better, you know? And he was like a fucking 17-year-old kid. He just got mad and fucking hit me. And I was like, what are you doing? He was a bit of a bitch too, because after he realized I could fight, he was like, I'm 17. I'm like, oh, now you're 17. But it's one of those things where, like, I don't know. I think that a lot of liberal feminists who spend so much time signaling intersectionality, they just really don't fucking get it. And it's a blindness that they can't get past. You know, like, they want cops. You know, all that defund the police is bullshit.
Yeah, I hear that all of the time, and I'm in both spaces. You know, I'm in the we love cop space because I'm a part of the neighborhood council, which has exposed me to, like, the way people think, which has been infuriating, but also, like, enlightening. Like, oh, that's why you think that, and then I'm like, that's just an emotional argument. Like, it's not even whatever. And then I'm also, like, in the radical spaces because I am, you know, like, about fuck the police and all of that. This is CD1 or 14?
I don't know. I don't know. Dude, I'm the worst.
I think this is District 1. I think this is Eunice's district.
Okay. No, she was on my ballot for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's the number one thing we need to do. Figure out who is representative so you can bug the shit out of them and hold these fucking people accountable because they make mad money.
Yeah.
Like they're making $14,000 a month.
Damn, dude.
Like who makes that much money?
You know what? Get out of here. I'm gonna join the bad people.
You know, and that works for a lot of people. Yeah. There are a lot of activists who do get careers and they stop being activists, you know, and
it's a thankless task.
You know, I'm not judging. I mean, we're all struggling to survive. Fucking hate them. No, I'm kidding. But I don't know. I forgot what the
I recently talked to somebody. They're my homie. They're new in LA, and there's this kind of thing of people that aren't from here, and I kind of went through it too, where it takes you a while. There's like so many layers of communities here that it takes you a while to find people that are genuinely from here and that are like not transplants from the Midwest that come here. So basically they came from New York, very stereotypical perspective on LA. They thought it was kind of fake. And I basically was like, oh, I get why you think that, and I totally understand that perspective, but the reality is that there is LA, and then there's a thin layer of people that aren't from here that run the city because they're in these industries that get paid insane amounts of money. Whereas, like I mentioned earlier, Miami, that's our city. Like, fuck you. Like, if you don't speak Spanish in Miami, this would happen to me all the time. My white friends were poorer than us in Miami because of the economics of that city. And I would hang out with my friends and their parents would be frustrated saying stuff like, you can't get a job in the city if you don't speak Spanish and shit like that. Like there were legitimate concerns. So for me, coming from a place that's like, it's ours. I mean, like the fucking US government was like, we want to brain drain Cuba so you guys can have this fucking, place that really nobody cared about at the time. And there's going to be a whole bunch of white flight. All the people that are over there are going to work for businesses and then buy them out when the white owners want to leave. And, and like over here, it's just gentrification. It's just this like thick layer of people that are not from here who speak about the politics of here like they know, who look down, like have that very condescending, like white savior perspective on Latinos. Whereas like, I'm like, bro, I've known Mexicans and Guatemalans and Salvadorans my whole life. It's so much fun to be part of this community where we get to bust on each other for how shitty our countries are. And we're all Latinos, we're all peers. Whereas over here, there's this layer of just whiteness that sits on top of what the real city is. Does that ring true, or am I misrepresenting LA?
I mean, that's like a really...
Is it not generous?
No, like I hadn't thought about it, like there being a crusty crust on top of us. But I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, in politics, it's the same thing. A lot of the people making policies and running these campaigns are people from the East Coast. Yeah. Or people that didn't even grow up in LA, and that makes a difference. It makes a huge fucking difference. And I mean, I have noticed, like, even like in Elysian Valley with the Frogtown Crawl flea market, whatever the fuck that was, it was an air of, we live better than you. We're fixing this community. The way you guys did things is just gross. So we're going to implement the way we do things, and it's better. And it's nasty. Yeah. It's belittling. It's dehumanizing. And I've always said, like, we are here. We exist. These communities are not vacant. When you move in, where do we go? And that's just like a basic concept for me. Like displacement is a war tactic, like a literal war tactic. We're watching it happen right now. We are watching it happen. And
we're so radical, we don't want them getting gentrified by bombs.
And
how novel an idea.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
no
to hit whatever emotion I just got out of you. It's like a fucking
yeah. You
no, yeah, it's and it is crusty, and it is old timey, and it's like it's just imperialism within the borders of this place. So
yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Italy.
Oh,
we dude, by the way, just in case you don't, like, how long do you think we've been recording?
40 minutes?
We're at an hour.
Oh my God.
So I mean, we can keep going. I definitely want to get your perspective on Italy, and you're always welcome back. I mean, you're my neighbor and my homie and my educator. I mean, Jesus.
You. I mean, if this episode doesn't cancel you or get your,
Oh no. Anyway, what was I asking you about? Oh, Italy.
It was amazing. It was a solo trip.
Nice.
I north to south. And to me, Rome felt like LA. Very much compared to like the other cities that I had visited.
It's the most sprawling of all of them.
And I saw palm trees there.
Yeah.
I was like, it was nice.
How beautiful are those pine trees? The ones that are like not like Christmas trees, but they're just like these like blobby kind of canopies. I don't know if you knew that they were pine trees, but
I don't know if I recognize them. I can't like picture me seeing.
I'll show you later.
Yeah. What I really liked about Italy, specifically Naples, was all of the political art on the walls everywhere.
Yeah.
Like anti-fascism, free Palestine, and
Sara ti amo.
It was so good to see.
Yeah. One of my favorites was Francesco Totti, Sindaco da Roma, like the mayor of Rome. And this was around when Francesco Totti was at Roma.
I'm not familiar with Roman politics.
No, he's a soccer player.
Oh, I'm not familiar with soccer either. Damn.
Yeah. But no, anyway. But yeah, no, that is true. It is nice. And it's a pretty interesting culture. They are very. There's a lot of protesting, and it's like rave protesting. The manifestations are just like trucks with big like like when I was a kid, the bus drivers, all the citywide, the bus drivers would go on strike, and you just like that day you knew that you had to find other means of transportation. They would announce it. It was like so like part of life. It wasn't beautiful. Yeah. It was, and like you see, every now and then you'll get a like a little news story of like port workers in Italian port refuse to work on boats sending weapons to Israel. Beautiful. And so it's, I mean, yeah. The problem is that a lot of anti-fascists are also mafia.
Is that a problem? Just kidding. No, and then here we have like the Amazon workers striking, and they're being like brutally arrested by the police. Cops, yeah. And like, yeah, no, seeing all of that was very, what's the word? I don't want to use the word inspiring, but like the last however many years, specifically when I took the presidency, I was like, oh, I need to be like polite. I need to be proper. Like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to get in trouble. And I was so afraid for so long, afraid in the sense of like how I will be perceived. And then I realized like I'm already being politically persecuted. Yeah. Like despite being proper, despite being this, like I'm being perceived in such a way, and I'm being politically persecuted. Like I lost my job over this.
Really?
Yeah, I did. And that could be a whole other episode.
What were you doing? What kind of work?
It was just nonprofit work, but there was like a change in leadership, and it just so happened that person that came into leadership was a very politically involved person. And
on the other side?
No.
They were your peer?
It's not that they were on the other side, like they weren't like Republican or conservative. But like the thing is, a lot of like affluent liberals, they don't think gentrification is a bad thing. Yeah. They don't think development is a bad thing. Displacing locals will house them somewhere else without acknowledging that this is like disrupting our entire fucking lives. Anyway, Rome, or specifically Naples, like brought it back to, that was the last city I was at, like brought it back full circle. Like, you know what? Like, just fucking go like deep. Just, go all out.
I recently got called out on TikTok by somebody that got really mad because I said that, we were talking in the context of, I was talking to my guest in Las Vegas, Brent, and he was saying that as like a black middle class person, there was always that pressure from his parents of being like, don't show your ass in front of white people, right? Mm-hmm. And then I responded and I was like, I basically was like, oh yeah, no, but Latinos, we just show our ass. It's like, it's not a thing. And I made clear that I was talking about how WASPs are a little bit more reserved with their feelings. They don't speak publicly about their feelings and stuff like that. And this Latina got so mad. She just went in my comments and just was battling me. And I was like, you're literally showing your ass right now. Like you're arguing publicly with me right now, and it's just like, no, there's no. And I just kept asking her, like, who are the low class Latinos that you think are show their ass, and who are the ones that don't? And she started going off on like, you're making it like George Lopez, who's like, we're showing our ass. Like she was so offended, but she was making such a public spectacle on TikTok. It was interesting to me. And the reason I bring this up is that like in Italy, it's a very different culture. It's Catholic. You can be forgiven. It's not Protestant. And over there, you see middle class people use their hands and talk, and they're loud and they're passionate, and to me, it's so refreshing to go there and see like, this is what we would be like without this cultural violence of you need to conform to upper middle class Protestant values. And if you do not fit that in this country, you can't get into the KKK because the KKK didn't want Catholics. And I know white boy Catholics, and they're so much more like me than Protestants. So it's not even a racial thing; it's a cultural thing that's really interesting. So I just want you to know that feeling of needing to conform to those things, that is white supremacy being pressed on you.
Oh, 100%.
And I love that you're confronting that. And I understand why going to Italy made you have that process, because it's so liberating to see men dressed to the fucking nines that live with their mothers in Armani suits and make so much money, and they are talking like this. They don't do that. The accent, no, the stereotypical accent is actually less accurate than in terms of because they're more like hi am.
My Spanish helped me a lot out there.
Yeah. That's how we did it. Everyone
spoke Spanish out there, and
it's so close.
Yeah. No, but everyone was dressed beautifully, and I was not. I was just
you look great.
Like,
what are you
I was
about?
Like backpacking out there, like, and
But you have the sense of style to survive, is what I mean.
I was afraid. It was my first solo trip. And I thought, like, I'm so small, I was so afraid. And then I realized out there, not once did I feel unsafe. Yeah. And I thought, could I do that in the US? No. It's crazy. There was just there was definitely like a sense of community out there. And the food, like, I have an autoimmune. So like certain foods like trigger inflammation and all this shit. But out there, I could eat everything, and nothing bad happened to me, and that really enraged me. Yeah, honestly, made me so mad.
No, it is really hard to remember what the food tastes like when I go back out there and then I eat it. I'm like, oh, that's right.
Yeah,
it's like a fucking
chemical free.
I watch a racing show and basically a car YouTube. And they basically, like, one of the guys was trying to describe how stressed out he was about driving a particular holy grail car that he'd always wanted to. And he goes, it's like that time when we're eating in Rome and we had that carbonara, and the producer stopped and he goes, I almost don't want to eat this. It's too good.
I legit cried. Yeah. When I had this one dish in Naples, it was like some steamed cod with like lemon potato puree. and it was $23. It was an incredible time. It was a very...
Did you get to see the Roman Forum?
Yeah, the Colosseum.
No, it's next. It's close to it. It's where it's like the old Roman city. It's just ruins.
Oh, the ruins. Yes, I did. Yeah. I did.
It's. I think you like the Colosseum, and then you take the road up, and then it's right there.
Yeah, that was actually a magical moment for me.
Yeah.
I was listening to the Arctic Monkeys album, Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, while I was walking through the ancient ruins, and then that song American Sports came on. And I was like, damn, I'm going to go back home and kick some ass. Like, I'm so fucking cool. Like, we're going to fucking do this.
Well, I mean, that is for someone like you, that's like where the politics took place. You know, that's where the fights took place. Yeah. And it's interesting to me, especially like you think about like that during the Roman period, the life was of like a peasant or whatever was to go to rich people and then lobby them for cash. So like my daily routine would be to go like, oh, I need to go talk to this rich person, and like it shows you why mafia and all of that stuff comes from there, because there was like literally a system of like, hey, you know, and you go back to the Medici, those are gangsters, like legit fucking thugs. You know, it's really it's so, it looks so quaint. Yeah. But then you walk through these streets and you imagine like what a contemporary of these eras was experiencing, like plagues and shit like that, you know, like it's so fucking crazy to be in that place and be like, man, people have been struggling their whole life, all throughout history. Right now, it's just this like romantic, like sexy place that has like, you know, immigration is like there's like huge immigration from Africa. And go ahead.
That was the other thing. In Rome, there were so many Latinos. Oh yeah. And like, you know, they're working like the same jobs here. And I was not expecting that.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh my God, my people. I'm like, I was very ignorant to that.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have like spoken to them, and I didn't. Like the solo trip dynamic was a very different thing for me. It was very like meditative. Like I was silent 90% of my trip.
Yeah.
But I want to know, like, how did that migration process look like? Why Rome instead of LA? Like, how?
Why not?
No, I know, but like, how did that come to be? Anyway,
no, there was you see Peruvian pan flutist street performers and stuff. Yeah, you see a lot of Latinos there.
A lot of Oaxaqueños too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I never got that in detail.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. That's cool. So, what was your favorite thing?
My favorite
then we can wrap up.
Thing about Italy. I don't know. This is a hard one. But I had some really good gelato.
Yeah, it's hard to beat.
Yeah. The food, honestly, was incredible. But I think more than anything was just the architecture and how well they've preserved so much of it.
Yeah. And how the intentions behind it, you know.
Yeah.
Architecture is awe-inspiring propaganda to make you want to believe in God, you know. And to do that, I mean, you know, the politics were just as shady back then, and it was like a money game to get your face painted into cathedrals and stuff, so that you could you could get into heaven. But yeah, no, I it's one of my favorite places to ever go to, and it like. I spent a lot of time thinking that I was well traveled, but I had just mostly traveled throughout Italy, you know, and I was like, well, that's why I feel that way, because Italy is just so diverse from, you know, it's like this narrow thing that goes up, and as you just watch the scenery change, you know, Tuscany's so different from Lazio, which is where Rome is. And then, did you get to go to Pompeii?
No, next time. I did Milan, Florence, Rome, and Naples.
Nice. How long was that trip?
10 days.
10 days. Wow. Yeah. You are hardcore, man.
Yeah. I mean,
that's some Bo Jackson shit.
The last time I traveled before that was Japan 2017, and I also backpacked that. But that was with like a group of people. Yeah. And honestly, I think I dig the solo traveling more. to be honest.
It's much more liberating. Yeah.
Yeah. Very reflective.
Be careful though, because there's a game that the men in Italy play it's called Ramocchiare, which is because there's so much tourism. They just go out and hit on girls, and since they're all on vacation, there's no consequences. Yeah. So there's a lot of the Italian men get a lot of play.
I mean, I got a little bit of like cat calls here and there, but I mean, it was like nothing dangerous. And I went in November. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like as touristy.
Yeah. No. Well, thank God you didn't go in August, because that's brutal.
Oh, no.
That's like the worst time to go.
It was like 3 times the price in August. But yeah, no, I want to go back. But that's
when all the Italians leave. Yeah, no, you should definitely go back. And let me know, and I'll give you some pointers on what's dope. Because there's definitely some stuff that's just so worthwhile. My number one recommendation would be to go to Assisi. It's the only place I've ever had. It's where St. Francis... Assisi, St. Francis of Assisi, where he is from. It's just a hilltop town that I went to, and I've said the story on the show before, but
the Pope?
No, St. Francis of Assisi. Oh, no. Well, so my dad's name is Francisco. Okay. St. Francis is the patron saint of Franciscos. Okay. And so the current Pope took his name. His name is based. I didn't realize you didn't know that much about Catholicism.
I'm not Catholic.
You're not?
No.
You didn't grow up Catholic at all?
I did not.
Wow. What is your background?
That's a very loaded question.
Oh, we don't have to.
No, it's not like I mean, we didn't grow up like in a structured religion kind of way. Like, yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're not like Protestant or something. Because one thing that trips me out here, and I say this with no judgment, is just a different experience, because I went to church in fucking Roman churches, right? Is like when you walk through, like when you're walking down past the strip mall and you just see this room full of people worshiping. Yeah. Are those Catholic or Protestant, or do you know?
Out here, yeah, it's Catholic.
It's Catholic. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Man, the church has fallen, dude. Yeah. If those are the rooms that people are worshiping in now. Yeah. But anyway, okay, so let's wrap up. And my wrap up question, as always, is there anything that you want to say that maybe I haven't asked you that you're going to regret not saying on the way home, on your long 2-minute drive home? You might be the closest person, the person that lives closest to me I've had on the show.
Let's see. Talk to your neighbors. Yeah, just fucking do something. Yeah. Like, things are going to get worse. Yeah. They are. And talk to your fucking neighbors. Yeah.
Good call. Anything that we can promote for you? Well, I have a partnership with the San Antonio Winery. Just completely exposed that I don't know that you're a complete sellout. No, I'm kidding. Anything that we can promote? Your Fernie Ferns at
Fernie.ferns at Instagram. I have a couple of projects in the works that I'll be, revealing on my social media.
Social media, yours is a very good resource. It's I mean, like, if you guys can't tell, I know all of it from you guys. So if people listening to me be able to recite what happened with the Avenue 34, I didn't go read a magazine or anything. It's not available there. You have to follow people like you that are doing this work and really care about it. So I don't always push people's Instagram as hard as I'm pushing this one, but you should definitely follow Fernie Ferns, and you'll see some videos, and she'll give you ideas that, like, for example, pulling down signs for We Buy Houses.
That's right.
Yeah,
we have a contest going on this month.
Oh, really?
Yeah, whoever pulls down the most signs gets a prize.
What kind of numbers are we looking at? Like, how many people? Who's in the lead? I don't want to know who's in the lead, but how many have they pulled?
I don't know. I would say like over 30.
Oh my God. Yeah. Damn, that's a good contest.
Yeah, I posted about it and people were hitting me up with like, I'll contribute a gift card to the prize.
Oh, so, cool. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, awesome. I guess that's it, right? Nothing else. Okay. Well, thank you guys for listening to my spite-filled episode about politics in my industry and how much they make me mad. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, like and subscribe. There's a bunch of ways you can help. They all matter. Like, subscribe. Rate us 5 stars, leave a review wherever you listen to the podcast. I noticed that you can leave comments on episodes now in like on audio episodes. So when I say comments, include that. And then we are trying to really make a thing of this. So if you guys have the means, we have early episode access for $5 a month or $6 a la carte. Although I need to look at that because last time I looked, depending on where I look, there's like an iOS tax, so the a la cartes end up being like $9. So I
capitalist.
Yeah, right? I don't want it to be $9. I want it to be $6. So if that happens, just hit me up and tell me I tried through this. And so a la carte is $6, $5 a month. You continue to get them all the time. And yeah, we're having so much fun. It's funny because like technically we're already in the new year because that's when this episode is coming out.
Really?
And I've just like hit it really hard at the end. And I'm like, I'm really excited about what's to come. So
2025 is gonna be crazy.
Oh my God, yeah.
Hit the ground running.
Hit that ground running for sure. And thank you guys for watching. We'll have another guest with another topic that may or may not be next. Oh my God, what a train wreck. And join us next week when and we'll have another guest with another topic that may or may not be art related. Today it's straddled. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And thank you so much. Yeah. And thank you so much for what you do. I tried to have you pre-election to talk about the propositions, but I think this is much better, you know?
Yeah, I forgot. My seat is up for election. I'm going to start campaigning in January. I completely forgot.
Oh, well, you got my vote. I mean, there's nobody that I want in there.
I'm the worst politician. Yeah.
I would beg to differ and say that that's what makes you a good one. All right. And thank you guys. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Yay.